This badge ain't real. You ain't real.
Oh, you sure are a crazy son of a bitch.
You think I'm crazy?
Yeah.
How you calling me crazy? You think I'm crazy? Yeah, you want to see crazy? I'll tell you.
Now, that's a real badge. I'm a real cop, and this is a real fucking gun.
You've joined the Betamax Video Club, rewinding back to our favourite films of the 1980s. My name's Rich Nelson, and tonight I've rented Lethal Weapon. Watching it with me is Petros Pasilovas of the Caged In podcast. Hello, mate. How are you doing tonight?
I am very well. I'm very pumped to be talking about this Christmas action caper, as it were.
And let's state for the record, this is a Christmas film. I will not hear a word against it. Talk of Die Hard is a Christmas film. This is a Christmas film. The two virtually exist in the same universe. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to all of you. And I love Shane Black, like the writer of this, and like he seems to set all of his films at Christmas, which is like a weird. Even like Iron Man 3, I believe, is like one of the films he like directed recently, and there's no reason for it. He just goes Christmas. Like I tell a lie. I think he has said his reasoning is like, people, if you're sad, you're even sadder at Christmas. Like the stakes are higher because it's Christmas. Like people, do you know what I mean? If the jeopardy is going to, it's like if you're fucking with someone's family around Christmas, it's even more because like shit, it's family time. It's not like, I don't know, a Tuesday in August. It doesn't really matter.
It's sacred.
Yeah, exactly.
We both watched the director's cut of the film. Just starting off, how was it rewatching it for you this time?
Well, I'd only ever watched the theatrical version, so I don't know about. Had you ever seen the? Yeah, do you only ever seen the director's cut, or the have you seen the theatrical version? Or
I have, and to be honest, I tend to forget which one I'm watching, and occasionally bits pop in that I may have seen before and I can't quite remember. This one's probably no different.
Yeah, because I looked at what was, because I was like, there's bits in here don't remember, and then I like looked back, and the whole scene with him and like Sniper is not in the theatrical cut at all, or like the scene with Riggs, like Mel Gibson's character before that. Like the first time you see him is the like moment in the Christmas tree like lot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird for me to see, like, I was like, shit, yeah, I don't remember any of this.
No. And I mean, this, for a Christmas film, and we'll get that out of the way. This film opens very darkly, doesn't it? I mean, it opens with the porn star prostitute basically chucking herself off the balcony, the scene that was virtually ripped off in Forrest Gump. And this, makes no bones, is not necessarily a comedy, but to open an 80s action film with an attractive blonde woman clearly off her tits, throwing herself on top of a parked car, that's pretty ballsy.
Oh, yeah, it's straight out of the gate. It is full on. It's like, literally first second, you're getting what you want from an action film straight away. You're getting tits. You're getting like the definite implication that there's drugs involved. Some shady shit is going down, and then you've got like as horrible as it's like a spectacular like action shot, as it were, of her just like plummeting through the air and smashing onto that car. Is like if you were bored beforehand, like you're in. Yeah. Like it's got you by the throat straight away.
There's no sort of slow open to this. It's straight in. And one of the things I saw in reading about it was, at the time, the stunt of the actress jumping off the balcony was pretty cutting edge, in that the airbag that she would have landed on was so realistically drawn so that they could leave it as long as possible, so that it didn't cut, say, Hans Gruber in Die Hard style a long way away. That was her. That was the actress doing it. She'd been pretty well trained. I'm not sure. I don't tend to look at a lot of people jumping, and we'll come into one of those shortly later as well. She made a big old dent in that car.
Yeah, definitely. Like she perfectly. Like, I always guess like people don't manage to actually land on their back like perfectly, like they always seem to do in like action movies. Like you would be more. I always think you'd be much more of a mess than she manages to. Like she still looks glamorous and attractive, even though she is clearly dead and like left a human-sized dent in a car. That's like I don't.
There's probably still a couple of films in there that she could act in after that, but that's perhaps for another podcast. Snuff Video Club.
But yeah, Weekend at Bernie's free.
And after this, and we've had this, and we've had the credits that say the music's by Eric Clapton, so it's going to be classy. We're introduced to Danny Glover's character Murtaugh. It's his birthday. And he's having a nice soak in the bath in the morning, as you do, with his slightly crazy beard. And all his kids and all his family burst in, celebrate his birthday. He doesn't have very many bubbles in that bath.
Yeah, that is exactly what I thought.
My daughter's quite young. I don't have to worry about this just yet. But he is just lying there quite casually, and they don't knock. Where's the manners?
Yeah, I just thought, like, I don't know, I think I would be scarred beyond belief if some his kids aren't exactly like one of them is at least 16, 17. I don't know if you want to be, I don't know. He seems pretty cool about it as well, doesn't he? Like he seems more about annoyed that they're interrupting the bath, not the fact that they're going to be seeing like 50-year-old Rog Murtaugh's nutsack. Like,
yeah, he doesn't even have a strategically placed flannel or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, we meet Danny Glover, who's obviously a family man. He's got some wife and kids and very nice little setup. And as you already mentioned, this is part of the director's cut, where we then meet Riggs, Mel Gibson before he went full crazy. He's in his little trailer by the beach, wakes up, fag on the go, has a bottle of beer and a piss, and already he's mourning for what we discover is his dead wife who died in a road accident. I mean, this guy, it's not immediately clear that he is, one, a police officer, and two, will last the rest of the film, because he looks like the archetypal suicide case, complete with big hair.
Definitely, and like not only are we introduced to him like naked, but yeah, it's a weird introduction to both characters because they are both like stark bollock naked. And doesn't he get pissed off and shoots his TV as well just because he's not happy what's on, like just to show how much of a madman he is? Like I read as well that I think it's for some weird reason on the DVD of Lethal Weapon 4 there is another deleted scene of how he like got the dog. So like it was like his it would have been another introduction of him like the dog's being hounded by a load of like kind of LA punks, and like he just kind of comes in, breaks it up, and then takes the dog home with him. So like, and I'm not sure if they cut that because obviously it would have made him seem like this opening shows him more of like he's really down in the skids, like whereas that would have shown a bit more compassion than they want us to have for him at this point.
This deleted scene already is far better than anything that Lethal Weapon 4 itself brought us. And like you say, we've met the two main characters and the lady in question who threw herself off the balcony, and they're all naked. Some might get mistaken by the film and wonder what have they rented. This is it doesn't necessarily Spain, but there's quite a lot of flesh. A director's cut scene, apologies for those who haven't seen it, but strongly suggest you check out this cut. Riggs has left his trailer, he's turned up, especially on his way into work, he's taken a call to go and deal with a sniper who's shut himself in his apartment and shooting kids. Shooting at kids, certainly, and he definitely hits one. And this scene, really, it fits in quite well, and I mean, it's been cut well even for the director's version. And you do sort of wonder why it was cut from the original, because basically Mel Gibson decides not to wait for backup, not to wait for the SWAT team. He's got his big hair, he's got his gun. He's just going to go and walk straight up to the guy, and if he dies, he dies. It's a little bit strange.
He's always got a cigarette on the go, I've noticed as well. Like he just like it's either most of the time it's unlit, but like, and there's like a twitch in his eye, and like this scene, like I was like, this is when I was like, what? I've never seen this before, because as I said, I'd only ever seen like the theatrical cut, and I was like, this is great. This is like a true madman. Like, not only like, as you said, the hair is massive, and he looked like he just looks great, like just almost RoboCop-esque in the way he just kind of like charges out there and like just unflinchingly reloading his gun. Like he's like, I'm going to pump this guy like full of lead. Like no, he's not pulling any punches. He's just going straight for it. And it's great.
But apparently in the original script, he used a rocket launcher to shoot the sniper. Now, one,
that is amazing.
How did he get the rocket launcher? And two,
I reckon he definitely is the type of guy who would have that in the trunk of his car. Like, I'm ready to rumble whenever. Like,
if I don't use it at work today, I'm going to use it on myself. Happy days.
Yeah, yeah. That would make one of the scenes very different, like that comes later in the film, and make a scene at the end very different as well.
We've met him doing his thing, and then the next sort of sequence is he is, and obviously we know he's a cop by now, he's trying to buy drugs from 3 really dodgy looking blokes, one of whom is the dad of the geezer from Red Hot Chili Peppers. And it's very strange, you know, he agrees to buy, I'm not sure, I couldn't remember the weight of the drugs for, they've agreed a price of $100, and there's the amusing scene of him trying to count $100 when the dealer's obviously looking for 100,000, and it's only then that they start thinking, this mad Australian sounding bloke, he's not all there. When he comes out as a police officer, I'm a real cop, this is a real badge, and this is a real fucking gun.
Well, it's the fact that, like, when he first shows the badge, they're like, "This, you're not a cop. Like, you're definitely just trying to scam us out of some drugs." Like, no self-respecting officer of the law would have that crazy haircut and understand. Like, not understand when we say 100, we mean like you would know street value of drugs. Like, this scene is amazing for haircuts as well, because all of them just have mental 80s, like. I don't know, not even perm. They're just, I don't know what was in the air in the 80s, but just made hair just go
LA smog.
Like, out.
Eventually there's a bit of a shootout, and, you know, we're only at this point sort of 10 minutes into the film, so it's not even, you know, there's no peril. He's not going to die. And his backup turn up, you know, the obvious police jackets and so on, and we get the standard, as Mel Gibson's telling this guy to kill him because he's got a gun to his head. It's like, shoot me, shoot me, shoot me. And when he eventually turns around and gives him the crazy eye, and the standard, leave it, he's not worth it. This is his colleague telling him that. It's like Friday night outside Wetherspoons.
That moment, like in the original cut, when I saw that, I was just like, I'm so invested in this guy. Like, just I don't know what, just the like, the sheer menace of him, and like, I love that kind of rogue, just kill me, just like, as you said, like that Australian like drawl he's got. It's good, great
because we obviously meet a lot. This was the 80s after all, where every other film had some sort of renegade cop in it, where they were either trigger happy or a little bit unhinged. But this, Mel Gibson really, as we would learn in later life, it's not really acting at all, it's probably the real him. He really plays that unhinged, that really deranged personality. He plays it so intensely, and it comes across so well that must be really alarming. It's, you know, proper method acting, I guess. You know, and you know, if you're a drug dealer holding this apparent cop with a gun to his head, and he starts saying, kill me, kill me, kill me, shoot me, that's really dark, isn't it? And this, the part of Riggs' character that we explore throughout the film, he's really troubled, both by the death of his wife and the fact that what he's gone through his wartime activities as well.
Yeah, and it's like, even to like the other cops, when they finally show up, it's like just the way he's speaking to them as well, where he's like, is someone going to shoot this asshole? Like, he's just like, you don't know which asshole you're talking about. Like, it's like someone just shoot me, him. Like, I don't care if I go down in the crossfire. Yes, this is a scene that, yeah, as I said, it's a fantastic little, like,
and
set piece.
One thing you alluded to earlier, the next bit after this is he's back in his trailer, and this is the scene where he's got his gun in his mouth with Bugs Bunny on in the background while he's looking at a picture of his wife. Genuinely, again, playing that sort of, isn't he going to shoot himself? It's real insight and really morbid sort of look at him, and and just that, how he managed to decide, right, he's not just suicidal, he's not just depressed, this guy's got serious problems.
Yeah. And like, I just can't help but think of that scene now, though, with him with like a rocket launcher pointed to his mouth. You ruined it for me, man. Oh no.
He'd have to have a big mouth anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah. Well, we found out in later life he has got a big mouth.
So we cut to police HQ. I assume this is the following day, and we have the standard exposition lady who's basically there to tell us the whole plot. She's saying that he's talking about his wife and everything, and that he's clearly unhinged, and he's doing his psychological analysis and that. And this is when they decide to pair Riggs with Murtaugh. Riggs is dressed, I'm not going to bullshit, he's dressed like a homeless person.
Yeah, well, I'm slightly offended because that is a look I've rocked many a time. I reckon I definitely the check shirt and the 501 Levi jeans. Yeah, I often do get mistaken for a homeless man.
People don't chuck a couple of quid in your coffee cup.
Yeah, but, it has ruined a lot of coffees in my time. I'll tell you that for sure.
but Danny Glover certainly thinks he's a criminal anyway, because as soon as Riggs gets his gun out to check it, he's running across, gun.
Yeah, he's on him. It's kind of cool as well. Like, I don't know, almost like it's kind of a progressive view on, like, because like imagine. A lot of films would have, like, I don't know, even earlier films like 48 Hours and stuff like that. Like the one who is like obviously like meant to be the screw up, like Eddie Murphy's character in that is the black guy, and like it's good. It's kind of good to see that flip reversed. That the guy, do you know what I mean? Like the black guy is the one who's dependable, and like it's not just like relying on stereotypes that.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's not something I'd really considered before, and that this, in a strange way, is like a reverse 48 Hours, isn't it? You've got, I mean, I'm not sort of comparing Danny Glover's character to Nick Nolte's, but it's very much like the guy they're dragging along who's unhinged and a loose cannon and this, that, and the other. It's from Eddie Murphy to Mel Gibson. My
reading of this film, though, is like a journey of like a crazed suicidal maniac who slowly becomes like brought a bit like a couple of notches down to just being a bit of a maniac and kind of drops the suicidal stuff. And then a straight-laced man who is kind of brought up a few notches to become like a murderous maniac, which like we'll definitely like there's a few things I definitely want to discuss a bit later on in this film that just kind of like watching them with an analytical eye. I was like, Jesus Christ, like this is full on.
It certainly loosens up throughout the film, doesn't
he? Yeah.
Have you seen the parody of this, Loaded Weapon?
Yeah, is that the Bruce Willis stars in that? Like,
no, I think it's, I can't remember if he's in it. It's Samuel L. Jackson and Emilio Estevez.
That is it. Yeah, no, there is, because there's a great scene that, like, I think it parodies a scene from Lethal Weapon 2, where they shoot at, like, Riggs's or the likewise character in that. They think they're shooting at his, like, apartment, like, his on the beach, and I think Bruce Willis has a cameo or something like that. Like, like he's living on the beach as well. Like, I think, and he's credited as John McClane. Yeah.
This is it, and I think in the version of this scene where they go for the gun, Samuel L. Jackson sees Emilio Estevez lighting up a cigarette, and this is sort of at the time when smoking has become uncool, and cigarette jumps across the office and puts his cigarette out. One of those films that seems to parody 100 others within it, but again, it's quite a good one. I might have to dig that one out as well. And we get the quality when the two Riggs and Murtaugh are walking towards the car, and we get the name of the film mentioned in the sentence where they're comparing which guns they have, and they say, "I guess I'm going to have to register you as a lethal weapon."
Which may be like my favourite line of the film, just because it always reminds me there's like a movement where people, like in cinemas and stuff like that, as soon as the name of the film is mentioned, like they just walk out, like. And it's just like, it is one of those, I just wanted to throw my hands up in the air and be like, they've done it. Yes, this is amazing. Like, yeah, I just want to know if that line came first, like what came first, like the title or that line? Like, were they like, oh, that's really like the way you delivered Lethal Weapon. That's the title. We've got it.
Either that, or you could tell in the script that Lethal Weapon was capitalized and the extra emphasis, please.
Yeah, Richard Donner, was like, come on.
I think they made a joke about this in Family Guy or something, where they had a few clips of Peter saying, "Oh, I love it when they use the name of the title in the film," and they managed to shoehorn in Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Obviously, it didn't happen, but it was just one of those. Right, I think you're pushing it a bit far now.
Oh, yeah. I've never seen The Quest for Peace, but I've heard is. A terrible, terrible film. Now,
this is, I think, the third or fourth episode I've actually referenced that film in. It's really, you've got to see it. I can't say anymore.
I kind of blame, like, we were talking just before we started recording that, obviously, on my podcast, I talked about, like, the Superman film that never got made with Nicolas Cage. And I think maybe, like, people were so like hurt by what that film had done, possibly, like, because I've obviously heard it's a total load of shit, that they were like, oh, well, maybe another Superman film is not a good idea because look what happened on our last outing. We don't want to.
We're not ready.
Yeah, we don't want to risk. We don't want to risk any money. Like
it took them another 15 odd years to get one out.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man.
Moving on to people with strange powers. The next scene is in your standard 80s weird club with Mr. Joshua, Gary Busey in all his glory.
Like the man who looked like his teeth look like they are a different entity to him. Like, they like protrude out of his mouth. I've confessed this a few times, but I always, when I was younger, used to get confused between... much to probably his annoyance, like that this probably happened in real life, Nick Nolte and Gary Busey. I always just get them confused. And like, I don't know, I always thought like maybe Gary Busey was his horrible alter ego just doing all his sins.
This is the part where, and as it becomes clear, this is part of a drugs ring, a huge heavy duty drugs importation ring. And the weird looking fellow with a beard who was the baddie from Red Heat, but is actually American, he's not Russian. They start getting weird about, they're using mercenaries to do their dirty work. And to show Gary Busey, or Mr. Joshua, to show his unerring loyalty to the cause, we get the scene with the lighter where that is just really shows how sadistic he is.
Yeah, and the poor like Mr. Mendez, like the poor guy who's just come to buy some like heroin or whatever, is like, he seems freaked out, like even before he's even introduced to anyone. He's like, where the fuck am I? What's going on? Like he's kind of like unsure anyway. And then as soon as like that happens, he's like, "You're crazy, man! You're crazy!" Like the classic, like just shouting erratically, like.
The smell of burning flesh as he's forced to hold a cigarette lighter under Gary Busey's arm while it burns.
I love that though. Is it? What's the Peter McAllister, the guy who is like the leader. He's he just like delivers a line afterwards as something to the effect of like, "Oh, just go see the nurse." Like that'll sort that out for you. Like I don't know. It's just how it's so.
Get a bag of frozen peas from the freezer.
Yeah, there's surely other ways you could show that you mean business,
Yeah.
like
Giving second-degree burns to your best employee.
Well, it goes. Like I've put in my notes. It goes from like 0 to 100 pretty quickly. Like it's not like take us on our word or anything. Like here's a few references of other people we've dealt with. It's like give me your arm, give me a lighter. Watch this shit.
I wonder if this was a standard sort of employee practice in mid-80s America. If you start working at McDonald's and you start querying Ronald and he holds your face down to a burger grill or something just to show, right, this is how we do it.
Or there's like kind of like henchman castings, and there's just like loads of guys with like burns on their arms and like do you know what I mean? The least successful guys have kind of got loads of burns. They're kind of all sat in a waiting room, like looking at each other, going, "Oh, tough one." Like, hopefully we get this one.
He only had 45 seconds and he quit. He's no good.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe he can go down to the cannabis smuggling ring instead.
That's your CV. Is just like the burns. Like how what's your work record like? You just roll down your sleeve. Get involved.
Oh, I can see your previous employer was Mr. McAllister. So we now have the antagonist to the film, and we find that the dad of the girl who jumped off the balcony, his dad served with Murtaugh in Vietnam.
Yeah, Mr. Hudsacker, which I think is like, is it Hunsacker? It's a brilliant name. Like this film is full of like Riggs and Murtaugh. Like I don't know, just unusual and great names. Like
they've gone for the phone book and just picked them at random, haven't they?
Every time I hear Hunsacker, I'm like, what so satisfying for the ears. Mr. Hunsacker, just like, I don't know. There's like straight away there's something like uneasy about him, because obviously there was an earlier scene in this where obviously like Murtaugh's wife had said there's a message from a Mr. Hunsacker for you, and he's kind of like contemplatively stroking his chin like I used to like be in the army with him. Like, I wonder what he wants. And then obviously fast forward to this moment, and like he's kind of like, does he work at a bank, doesn't he? And like you got Riggs just smoking outside, waiting for the conversation to be over.
And this is the part where you know his daughter's died, and he's probably turned up for work the next morning because, as you do,
money never sleeps.
Well, no, yeah. And well, of course, we find out that that's the front for the drug importation ring. He basically demands that Murtaugh avenges the death of his daughter. He demands that he kills him based on some old favour that he did for him back in Nam, and
you never find out what that is, do you? It's not like
it's kind of like I stuck my neck out for you. You owe me. Now kill these people. I know you're a police officer, but I don't care. Kill them.
I think with the sequels, they definitely missed the classic trick of like someone's past coming. Do you know? Like normally it's like sequel 3, like something like, and they definitely they planted a seed there where something could have happened, like in Nam, and that could have been the big bad guy. Oh, sorry, I'm just fantasizing of a world that could have been.
Well, there's rumours now that Lethal Weapon 5's not far away, so maybe we'll do that then. I know.
Oh God.
And Mr. Huntsucker also alludes that his daughter was also involved in porn, and he does send Roger a nice little video for him to watch in the privacy of his own home, just to
and he looks like. He looks like he enjoys that video way too much as well. Like he gets out his big old glasses, like his Joe 90 glasses, to really get involved, and he's thumbing through a yearbook, like just to make sure it's definitely her.
I'm surprised he didn't have to get his handkerchief out and wipe some steam off the glasses halfway through. That was a little bit gratuitous. He couldn't just take his word for it, could he? He's like, no, here's one of her grumble flicks. It's Wet Drunk Hooker 4.
No, I've got the name written down here. It's called Amanda and Her Friends. I'm not sure if that is like the actual title of the film or what the.
Wasn't that a Michael Caine film in the 80s?
I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if like that's what the dad has written on the tape, and it's just a bit weird. Like,
you'd expect it to be like college co-eds 12.
yeah.
Personal,
busty babes.
Yeah. After they've met with Hudsucker at the bank, this is where the infamous jumper scene, which is just Riggs. You know, he's obviously had a couple of minutes off while Roger does his thing. He's been saving up his crazy. And these clearly cops that don't work where I do, where they just take whatever calls they fancy, really. They don't have a particular remit. They're not drugs or vice. I think there might be homicide, but they just do what they want. And they go to the suicidal jumper on the roof.
This guy is an amazing example of just like crazies out there. Like just the actor alone, like it's something about his voice, like and like
it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's great because obviously, like he's not even there. Like I don't know, he doesn't no attempts really to talk him down. He's like, I'm coming out, and like he's out there on the ledge with him. Like he bamboozles him, doesn't he? He's like, do you want a cigarette? And then like whilst he's passing over the cigarette, just like cuffs him, and he's like, if you're gonna go, I'm gonna go. Like,
and he does turn it around well. It's he said, well, you can't jump now, otherwise you'll be murdering a cop.
Yeah.
It's kind of like well, it's not down to you now, is it? But something similar happened in one of the Dirty Harry films, wasn't it? I think. But the fact again that it's Mel Gibson just goes full Gibson, and then starts going, "You don't want to jump, you don't want to," and basically egging him on.
Yeah.
And he's double daring him, and eventually he's like, "Fuck it, let's just go."
Well, I've got like, 'cause obviously they land on like, sorry anyone, but like, obviously Mel Gibson is in 3 more of these, so he does not die. But they land on like the biggest map you've ever like, kind of like. I am just perplexed to how that gentleman did not see them. Like, considering he's got a pretty good view from up on that roof, he did not see them like wheel that thing out.
This is the sort of thing where they've probably had to send a request off to wherever their storage facility is and say, right, we've got someone, we think he might jump. Let's go and get the big airbag. Someone's been using it as an airbed in the office probably. Let's bring it out under this geezer. Let's inflate it. And I'm sure this takes a bit of time and makes a lot of noise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've first-hand witnessed someone like erect a bouncy castle, and they are not. It's not a very silent affair. It's not a. I've slept on many an airbed as well. They're not like.
I think if they did that over here, it'd be jump off the roof and land on some sort of enchanted castle from Frozen or something.
Yeah. Just ages of like, you would hear something going on, or see some even if it was some miraculous silent airbag, he would have seen something.
And the old,
obviously, first time watching it, it's a bit of a surprise. Like, fuck, like, he's gonna die, and it's like, oh no, there's a massive airbag,
and it's got the dirty 60-year-old next to it going, oh, you got your shoes on, that's an extra 50p. So, oh god, eventually, so they get down and Riggs and they have their chat, don't they? And it all gets a little bit, does his best to prove to Murtaugh, because Murtaugh's got the raging arsehole with him, because I think, as you would if you're partnered with this guy, if he's going to go, he's probably going to take you with him. That gets quite tense, doesn't it?
Yeah, because he pulls out the bullet, doesn't he? And he's like, I think about killing myself every night. And he's like, you see this? This is the bullet I'd do it with. It's like a hollow point, like, and he's like, so it'll leave, like, there'll be no room for error. It will take me apart. And then he pulls the gun out, like, Murtaugh gives him his gun, doesn't he? He's like, do it now.
Yeah.
And he's like, the side of the head, he's like, no, put it in your mouth, like, really do the damage, because if you do it on the side, you might just
hit your ear or something.
Yeah, you might miraculously survive.
And this is, I think, at the point where he realises, like, this isn't an act, this isn't just a sort of quirk of his character, you know, he is actually a full-on nutcase.
Yeah, because he says to him, doesn't he? He's like, well, man, you really are crazy. Like,
You're a good actor. So eventually they go off to the house where some drugs are being cooked up, and Murtaugh shoots the guy in the leg, and that whole scene.
Wasn't this a friend of Amanda's? Like,
Yeah.
so they go there because this is, I don't know, I'm not sure if they're featured in Amanda and Friends, but they
They're those friends. But they take a while to realise that they're police officers, don't they? Because they're sitting there bagging up the drugs, and they're going, oh, like very giggly sort of stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, it's the fuzz.
Yeah, because when they turn up, don't they? Like, how are we going to get into this place? And there's like a nice young girl, like, Merry Christmas, come on in, make yourselves at home.
It's very weird, and you know, the part where this guy suddenly comes out and he ends up dying, because most of these characters do, and I think it shows that Riggs sort of has to kill him, because demonstrating the point, you know, he's got a gun, you can't just sort of shoot and injure these people, sometimes you do have to kill them.
Yeah, because he even tries not to, doesn't he?
Yeah,
like he
caps his leg or something.
Yeah, like Murtaugh's like, you see that? I shot him in the leg. And then like he eventually pulls another gun on Murtaugh, and he's like, I've done that to save your life. Yeah, and then they seem like they're at the house for ages, because obviously they end up in the pool at one moment, and then it's like hours later, like they've had chance to like kind of wash and tumble dry their clothes, and they kind of have like quite a tender moment where they kind of say, like, he's like, oh, like Murtaugh says to Riggs, like, you saved my life. Maybe you're not all bad. Like, maybe you're not just this killing machine. Like, you've got one of them layers under there is a nice guy.
But that's when he invites him around for dinner, as soon as that evening or shortly after. He goes round for the dinner, and that's when Murtaugh's daughter, who hopefully is whatever the age of consent is in that part of the world, starts flirting.
Yeah, 18.
Yeah, starts sort of flirting with him and rubbing his knee under the table. It's
yeah, and then you get the amazing, like, because the younger children have cottoned on that obviously the daughter is smitten, and they perform like world class standard, like top 40 like standard rap music and they egg on like Murtaugh to get involved as well, and he's like beatboxing at the table, and it's great, and they're like best mates. Like they all like, instantly, like all it took was for Riggs to kill a man for Murtaugh, and he's like, you know what, we're best mates. Let's have some beers on the boat.
Yeah, and it's funny, isn't it? You know, they've had a day, and I say that the timeline isn't all there, but from jumping off the roof with a guy to shooting a guy and then virtually almost drowning in this swimming pool to suddenly being, let's go around for dinner. And I'm not sure what the protocol is there for after a police shooting, but going round for a badly cooked meal and
no paperwork,
and allegations are being felt up by a minor. It's very, very weird.
Yeah, because they're on the boat, like kind of like. Murtaugh's convinced at this point that that's the case closed, isn't it? He's like saying, we've cracked it. Like this is the end of the line. Like it's just these scumbags in the Hollywood Hills, like packaging up some drugs. Like that is as far as we go. And like Riggs being the cynic is kind of like, I'm not too sure about that. It seems a bit too neat. Yeah. And he comes up with the idea of Murtaugh earlier on had an encounter like with the jumper, like well after the jumper, with a prostitute on the street called Dixie. Yeah, and he like Riggs says, oh maybe, or like he plants the seed then at least or something. Yeah. Oh shit! I might. No, I think that happens a little later. I'm sorry.
Well, no, but it's after this that they go to Dixie's house, because I think they need to speak to her to try and work out. Yeah. She turned up at the crime scene when she jumped off the balcony, saying, "Oh yeah, I saw it. Here's my name and details. I'll give you a full statement." Basically, almost to sort of say, yeah, it was a suicide. It wasn't the fact that her drugs had been tainted and poisoned, basically.
Yeah, well, there is two little scenes that might like don't really add to the plot, but like add to the characters a little. Like, is the scene with Riggs after obviously having this like really nice night at Murtaugh's house. I don't know, like I think this may have been cut from the theatrical version because he picks up a 16-year-old prostitute and pays her $100 to come home with him and watch
the Three Stooges.
Watch the Three Stooges. Yeah, which is like, I don't know, like I can see why that scene might have been cut because it kind of, I don't, as much as it shows that like he maybe it's kind of a facade, him having a nice time with Murtaugh and his family, that he's still like a broken man. But like, I don't know, it's a bit Roman Polanski for me.
He does ask her age first. The day after, or the morning after this nice meal, they go to Dixie's house, obviously, to speak to her and find out exactly, why did you just happen to be loitering? And as they sort of rock up at the house explodes. And this is a pretty impressive explosion.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I love the little kids' reactions. Like they're kind of like, I almost like the little rascals, like kind of just. They're all like jumping up on the cars. Like one of them, for some reason, is wearing 3D glasses, and he's like, "Wow!" They're all like, "Wow!" Like, and they're amazing because they like just have the cynicism of just like. As soon as they rock up, they're like, here they are, like, the feds are here, like, don't do anything, you'll get arrested, like, my mum told me, like, you black guys.
Shoot black kids.
Yeah.
I love the Dad's Army bit where he's like, so what's your name? And he's like, don't tell him your name, Alfred.
Yeah.
But he describes Mr. Joshua perfectly because Mel Gibson, being Mel Gibson, has gone through the wreckage of the bomb site and found some very high-tech, advanced mercury switches for these bombs, which, of course, can only mean they're done by professionals, because why would the only part left of the bomb be the bomb itself?
Yeah.
And then Alfred says that the guy who did it had the same tattoo as Mel Gibson, which is a pretty good giveaway that because it's, was it Army Rangers or Special Forces or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's, so they're clearly in the same club. And
it's good that he decided to wear a short sleeve shirt that day.
Yeah.
Because otherwise that would have been like, Alfred would have been like a bum witness. It would have just been like, would have been a dead end. That would have been it. It would have been like just more of them going about their mundanity of day-to-day work.
And he was, presumably Mr. Joshua was pretending to be an employee of the gas board. And they obviously didn't have a uniform standard where you had to have long sleeve shirts and no visible tattoos like my employer. Yeah,
because they get out of there, and the next scene is Amanda Hunsacker's funeral, which like very weird because instead of being at the funeral, it looks like it's definitely in the full swing of it. Like there is a minister kind of doing his spiel, and her dad is inside just having a chinwag with Murtaugh about like. Yeah. drugs and like the fact that he's been deep in it for all this time, and like I can't it's a working for the bank's a perfect front. I've got another daughter, they can't kill, like they'll kill her, like.
But weirdly this it took me on some sort of right down some rabbit hole where he basically uses the term that it was an Air America thing, which is and there's all these rumors about how the CIA and the American government made a lot of money out of selling drugs and that from Vietnam and Laos and that part of the world after the war. And Air America was a slightly more forgettable film that Mel Gibson was in with Robert Downey Jr.
Amazing.
A young Robert Downey Jr., so junior maybe. As you say, this is where Hunsacker's real involvement comes in and how they've got him over a barrel because they can't get rid of him necessarily because he's the money man. It doesn't stop Mr. Joshua in a helicopter, full-on gunship, shooting the shit out of him while he drinks out of an eggnog.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
or Christmas, because it's Christmas.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And everyone, like, it's just total, like, 80s carnage, like only time. I've never really, like, you don't see just a solo gunman in a helicopter anymore. Like, I'm pretty sure he's wearing like Yeah, he's the way he's like, I don't know, he looks like he's got a cabana shirt on, like with some trousers. He looks like he's ready for a fun time, but also ready for some killing.
It looks like he's a cross between like cricket whites and something out of the CNA catalogue of the time.
Yeah.
So then they're not. Mr. Joshua says that Riggs and Murtaugh aren't dead because Riggs has tried to shoot the helicopter down. So they then go and kidnap Roger's daughter, while Riggs, as working his undercover, trying to find out a bit more about the prostitution side of things, is shot by Mr. Joshua, but isn't dead. So they fake his death because Mr. Joshua pretends to be the local press and find out what's going on and said, oh yeah, Riggs is dead. There's the showdown in the valley with Roger's daughter, who's been kidnapped by the general and all that, and Murtaugh in his station wagon, proper 80s.
Yeah, and like I the moment this scene, like the location came on, it just like reminded me straight away of like the finale to Seven, like the David Fincher film, and like just I don't know, a lot of stuff in like Breaking Bad, just like those big like desert vistas and stuff like that, and always like a meeting in the middle of fucking nowhere. But it's just like I don't know, like I love when you see the bad guys like drawing in. You've got that classic like heat wave, and they're like kind of coming in out of the smoke in a convoy helicopter and all, and it's
like an early Michael Bay film or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The Transformers rolling up and causing some carnage.
And it's clearly, you know, an odd mix of vehicles because they've got a SUV, a limo, and a helicopter. You know, very sort of uneven. But Riggs has got out of the station wagon before it rocks up, and he's made various claims and so on before about being the best, or one of the best snipers in the world, as he is. And he goes and finds himself a little spot so that when Murtaugh decides that, you know, when he demands his daughter's released and so give me the girl and I'll go with you and everything else, and he gets out what looks like a live grenade, which turns out to be a smoke bomb, so that it gives Riggs an opportunity to fire off quite...
I love the guy who shouts like it's like he's got a grenade. He looks like what's his name? Richard O'Brien from the Crystal Maze in like these in these little glasses, and like he's great. Like I wish I'd seen more of that guy. Like it's definitely he's a scene stealer in that moment. Like
that'd be a good spin-off film
of this film.
They essentially, the plan fails because it's the general himself who finds Riggs lurking in the bushes with his sniper gun. And while the daughter, she tries to make her escape, she gets brought back, and then we get the torture scene.
Yeah, well, one thing I've like it's in a few scenes like It always seems like her voice a lot of the time, like especially with like whimpers and stuff like that, sound massively like ADR, you know, like just like additional. Like, it doesn't fit right. Like I don't know. There's a scene very early on in like Roger's home when he's like having breakfast and just like all the voices like in the mix of the film. Like I don't know. Again, like it's probably a bad idea to watch films like with an analytical eye, because I imagine like, if I just left my brain at the door, like where the brain deserves to be when you're watching an action film, like I would be totally immersed and be like, I'm in this to the bitter end.
Don't think too much.
Yeah, exactly.
We're at the torture scene where Riggs is hooked up in a bucket of water with the guy who plays Genghis Khan in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And
I'm pretty sure there's some very like he gets pretty like he makes like a racial slur, doesn't he? He's like, "Who's the chin?" Like, hell, like
again, it's not really acting, is it? This is Mel Gibson at his best. So we've got Mr. Joshua and Genghis Khan deciding on how to get information from him. Murtaugh's in the other room he's been punched a lot, and a very unpleasant looking way of torturing him because he got shot in the shoulder, didn't he?
Yeah.
Earlier on. So they decide, rather than, you know, there's nothing too elaborate, let's get some salt out. That is brutal.
Yeah, like I definitely like watching this film. Like I've recently been playing. It sounds like a weird move, but like I've been playing Grand Theft Auto 5 recently again. That game, like it's really like obviously the series is quite famous from borrowing a lot from films, but there is a mission where as one of the characters you have to decide how you're going to like torture someone, and it's like very reminiscent of like this, and there is another part in that game which is very reminiscent to like a scene in Lethal Weapon 2, and yeah, I don't know, it's just like how these moments have made it into like the brains of people and gone, you know what, that's pretty rememberable, like let's put some salt in some wings.
Is that one of these ones where it says press A for salt, press B for cyanide?
Well, you have to kind of pick
like
what you want, so it's like classic, like you can electrocute them, and like you've got to try and like not go too like four to the floor too quickly, because you'll just kill the man. You've got to kind of ease your way up. Yeah, take a kneecap out.
And this is the scene where they basically prove that Riggs is full on lunatic, because they're torturing him with. So he's in a bucket of water and he's soaking wet, and they torture him with electrified sponges. It's clever anyway. It's and this guy, who was also in Die Hard, weirdly, is holding these sponges against him while he's wet and shocking Mr. Joshua in the process. And it's, no one can survive this. He would have told us by now. So Joshua fucks off, and as he does, he just grabs Genghis between his knees and manages to break his neck.
Just does he use his like, because he gets his arms off as well, doesn't he? Does he use his like kind of the fact that he's got like the body there to like get his arms free, and he's up for action? Yeah.
So he uses him as leverage, doesn't it? And so they have a bit of a shootout. It turns out that this whole setup is just in the back of their sort of seedy standard 80s nightclub.
Yeah, which I thought was like mental. It's like a proper like derelict, like where it looks underground. Yeah. It looks really deep. It kind of reminds me of like the end of Commando, like like that kind of boiler room-esque like area. And I'm like, what? This is the back of a nightclub. Normally you just got like a stock room, maybe like a little staff room or like a kitchen. Like, this is mental.
And this is a full-on, like, the nightclub's full and there's a live act on there, and yet there's a lot of shooting going on and not everyone seems that bothered.
Yeah, because they're trying to be quite incognito at first, aren't they? Even though like Riggs has got like an assault rifle, or like at least like he's got something that can do some damage, and he's like, they're picking people off left, right, and centre, and like it ends up with like them chasing Mr. Joshua out of the club, don't they? And then
but the three of them sort of stagger out. Murtaugh, Riggs, and the daughter stagger out through the club. No one bats an eyelid at all the dead bodies, and again, it becomes apparent that McAllister's trying to get away with all this heroin. Mr. Joshua's gone off back to Murtaugh's house, but Murtaugh gets McAllister.
Well, this is the point I wanted to make about like he's kind of off the hinge, like, because he's like, he doesn't just say I want to get him, like arrest him. He's like, I want to kill him. He's like, don't think you're getting out of this alive, McAllister. And I was like, gee, like the rule book, like the police handbook has been thrown out by this point. It's like shit's got personal,
because he basically does it in the alleyway, doesn't he? Plays chicken with him. Shoots the driver, and the car basically flips, and the car's full of heroin and hand grenades. It's a standard Friday night,
as you do.
They do allude to it where the car blows up, and Murtaugh's quite happy that the general's dead. And of course, if you blow up a shitload of heroin, it goes places. This doesn't just evaporate. The locals are starting to get high. I'm pretty sure that some of the bystanders, and it looks like Hollywood Boulevard, because I think there's some Hall of Fame stars on the floor.
Yeah, I think they say it to Mr. Joshua as well. Like, I think he like kind of brags like he's toast on Hollywood Boulevard or something like that. And
you can see all the tourists who are there who see this explosion are starting to absorb copious amounts of smack, basically.
Apparently this film was supposed to like kind of have there was an original, like, in the original script, there was a scene, like, where it would just end with all the, like, just a big car chase and, like, the heroine end up just exploding in the air. The effect of snow over the Hollywood sign, which, like, that sounds amazing, like that, and that sounds like a definite, like, Shane Black, like, very, and a Shane Black-ism, as you were, like, just something that's really, I don't know. I think that would have been a great visual to see.
But it is like Die Hard, where that ends on the snow, doesn't it? And Let It Snow.
Yeah.
So
again, I think written by, like, maybe uncredited, but, like, Shane Black has something to do with Die Hard as well. Like,
yeah, I've read, because he obviously had bits, he was in Predator and stuff, wasn't he? He did that. There were some links between this film and Die Hard. In fact, they were quite closely related at some point. We get to the climactic scene where Joshua rocks up at Murtaugh's house, drives through the house rather than turn up on scene, and there's half of the Los Angeles police there. We're not going to arrest him. We're going to let Riggs fight him to the death.
Yeah, and it's like a kind of, like, it just reminded me of, like, an old, like, 90s WWF, like, like when they just kind of, like, started brawling out the back, like, and stuff. It was just crazy. Like, even, like, there's points that, like, we should stop this. Yeah. Like, Mr. Joshua gets a big old post, and then, like, Murtaugh throws him in like a baton. Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
This fight took 4 evenings to film, from sort of dusk till dawn, and with the hydrants and everything, and you can tell, I guess, some of the continuity looked a bit like, this was patched together. And some of the fight was quite brutal, but again, you're thinking, if you're Murtaugh and you're very by the book and everything, I mean, essentially you're allowing police brutality. And again, we're in this era of LA, where just before the riots, where you're allowing police brutality, potential deaths in custody. He's already got many members of the public high on heroin. This is in his front yard, which people will ask questions about.
He's got no real, I don't know, like, for the safety of his fellow officer as well. Like, he could have been drowned in a very shallow puddle on his lawn, and he's like, no, let's see how this goes. Like, I don't know, it kind of seems quite sadistic, because, like, I guess with them all there, if it did go in, like, Mr. Joshua's favour, they're not going to go, no, fair's fair. This is a fair fight. We're just going to see how it pans out. We're going to shoot you. Like, so
Queensbury rules.
Yeah, exactly. Like gentlemen's rules. Come on. No below the belt. It's weird. It's like...
But even when Riggs eventually, wins the wrestling match with a, I mean, I watched a lot of WWF whatever in the 80s, and this looked a bit like a figure 4 leg lock or something like that, who's got him around the throat anyway. So he eventually wins or triumphs this fight anyway. And, like Die Hard, as he's being led away, he suddenly gets hold of one of the guns of the officers. Yeah. And it's the ultimate, both of our heroes turn around in perfect timing and pop him. And it's just real good time.
That Die Hard reference, that is exactly the same thing I thought. Like, it's just that, I don't know, almost slow motion, isn't it? Like, kind of bursting out. Yeah, it's like the choreography is pretty much the same as well. It's fucking crazy.
I mean, ultimately, this film, it says a lot that, recently when the rumours about Lethal Weapon 5 and that, and, a lot of people have gone, oh God, not another one. We've had enough sequels recently, but too much time has passed. And
one of Murtaugh's, like, his catchphrase throughout the film, and very much becomes his catchphrase throughout the franchise, is like, I'm too old for this shit. And it's like, if you were too old for this shit in, like, 1986, did this come out? Like, you're definitely too old for this shit in 2017. Like,
I mean, like most of these franchises, that some of which we've touched upon in other podcasts, where particularly this one, where it's such a popular film. It's such, for what it is a brilliant 80s action film.
I think this nails it in the fact that the sequel may surpass how good. Number 2 may surpass, like, the greatness of the first one. Maybe because I have a very, very soft spot for Joe Pesci and the introduction of his character, and just the elements of humor that the second one has, that this one kind of is quite po-faced a lot of the time, and I don't know, deals with a very damaged man.
This one certainly is dark.
Yeah.
But, again, it's that sort of law of diminishing returns, isn't it? Where you start with one and in a lot of franchises, and, really talked about, say, Superman, for example, and obviously another Donner film, where in some ways the sequel to that was, if not as good, better in some ways. And yet they're talking about a gap. And I mean, Lethal Weapon 4 must have been, 96, 97?
Yeah. I remember that being like one of the first DVDs I ever remember seeing, because I remember it's something about old DVD cases. You remember like the old cardboard, with the like plastic like click bit. Yeah, so like I just remember someone owning and borrowing it, and I could only watch it on we could only watch DVDs on our computer at the time, like a Windows 98 or something like that.
And this is it. So you've got potentially a 20+ year gap. And I mean, it says a lot that when this film came out, and again, I'll reference this later, the number one UK song when this came out was Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. That's how fucking old this film is.
But that song has had a massive resurgence thanks to Rick rolling and the Foo Fighters, which like I'm not very happy about. So maybe the possibility of a Lethal Weapon 5, even though I feel that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia have kind of like put the full stop on that by spoofing and like making what they believed would be their Lethal Weapon 5.
I should have said this at the start, and it's a travesty that that came up on Twitter the other day, was their TV series of Lethal Weapon, which I've not seen. I refuse to watch it. Comes up first on an IMDb search.
Yeah, it comes up just on a plain Google search. And you type in.
So you type in Lethal Weapon, and the TV show comes up first. It's.
Yeah, again, I refuse to watch it. I don't know. Don't trample on my child.
I'm sure it's got an audience, and I'm sure it's obviously, it must have done well for itself. But come on, man, just leave it alone.
And like the thing that like I fear the most of them doing a number 5 is that that it could happen is the fact that Joe Pesci is like seems to be out of retirement, because he's like there's photos of him filming the new Martin Scorsese film. I hope that is like the fact that it's one of like the greatest film directors of like the 21st century. That's the only reason he's out of retirement, that like he cannot be bought by I don't know, a script for where he gets to play like a very minor joke character.
He hasn't got a divorce to pay for or something like that. But...
Yeah, no, I think he's doing all right. Hopefully,
God, for his sake.
Him and Jeff Daniels will be getting back together for the something else bandits this time, the Broke Bandits.
Oh, God. I thought we were going to say Brokeback Bandits.
Oh, God.
One thing I was going to ask, and sort of tapping into your expertise as a Nicolas Cage fan. Mm-hmm. Now, Mel Gibson's hair in this film, as we've already touched, is a thing of absolute natural beauty. Are you a subscriber to the theory about Nicolas Cage and his hair in films? The more outlandish the hair, the more outlandish the film.
I think I'm yet to like see, because I know this comes more full in like into full effect the later his career goes on.
Yeah.
Because I know I've got some real humdingers to come in like to cover, but like I would say that like Con Air, crazy wispy nuts hair, batshit crazy film. I don't know. He's got pretty normal hair in Face Off, and that is a pretty out there film. Vampire's Kiss. Yeah, again, crazy hair. Yeah, no, there is. I think there's definitely some substance to that theory.
Now, could you imagine? And I say we're in a parallel universe. Nicolas Cage playing Martin Riggs in Lethal Weapon. Nicolas Cage with Riggs, Mel Gibson's hair.
Yeah, that, or like I reckon like the Con Air, like that kind. I reckon he'd probably rock more of that, like a kind of skullet, like the receding. Like I definitely I've seen Nicolas Cage like watched 34 of his films so far, and I've seen him do crazy plenty of times.
Yeah.
So I reckon he could do like pretty method as well. So I reckon he would tap into that vein that needs to be maybe a bit too much though.
Maybe. On that bombshell, I'll wrap up Lethal Weapon. It being Christmas, it's a perfect excuse to wrap anything up. We're going to speak again at some point about the sequel to this, aren't we? I've got you down for Lethal Weapon 2, and if you're
I would love that.
And you're claiming that in some ways it's superior, so that'll be a fun conversation. But
amazing.
But let's say, Petros, thank you very much for joining me. If you'd like to check out the Caged In podcast, its Twitter handle is @CagedInPod. And as I've said before, I'll play out the podcast to the song that was number one in the UK at the time of release, which was the almighty and never-ending Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. So, Petros, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This was an absolute joy.
And I'll speak to you again in time for Lethal Weapon 2, and we'll get our diplomatic immunity in the post.